Если вам больше 60 лет, то одна, казалось бы, безобидная привычка может стать причиной внезапного инсульта, который подкрадется незаметно, без каких-либо предупреждающих знаков, симптомов или болевых ощущений. Вы можете лечь спать, чувствуя себя превосходно, а проснуться с невнятной речью, нарушенной координацией движений или парализованной одной стороной тела. Как врач, специализирующийся на заболеваниях головного мозга, я, к сожалению, слишком часто сталкиваюсь с пожилыми людьми, перенесшими инсульты, которых они совершенно не ожидали. Причина кроется не в курении, не в злоупотреблении фастфудом и не в недостатке физической активности, а в том, что они считали полезным для здоровья во фруктах. Миллионы пожилых людей ежедневно употребляют фрукты, наивно полагая, что это приносит пользу их сердцу, мозгу и пищеварительной системе. И хотя многие фрукты действительно способствуют здоровому старению, некоторые из них, особенно если употреблять их не в то время или в чрезмерных количествах, могут незаметно нанести вред. Они способны резко повышать уровень сахара в крови, вызывать обезвоживание мозга или опасно взаимодействовать с принимаемыми лекарственными препаратами. Самое ужасное, что об этом никто не предупреждает. Сегодня я хочу рассказать вам о 9 распространенных фруктах, которые могут повысить риск инсульта, ухудшения памяти или даже кровоизлияния в мозг, особенно если вам больше 60 лет. Задумывались ли вы когда-нибудь о том, что ваши здоровые привычки могут давать обратный эффект? Если да, то вам необходимо это услышать, и я обещаю, что эта информация может спасти вам жизнь. Прежде чем мы углубимся в эту тему, я рекомендую вам подписаться на мой канал и включить уведомления, чтобы не пропустить ни одного полезного совета по здоровью, разработанного специально для вас. Если вам понравится это видео, пожалуйста, оставьте в комментариях цифру 1. Если нет, напишите 0, чтобы я мог улучшить качество контента для вас. Первый фрукт, о котором мы поговорим, это банан. Употребление слишком большого количества калия за короткий промежуток времени может быть опасным. Как врач, специализирующийся на заболеваниях головного мозга, я часто сталкиваюсь с неожиданными инсультами. Но больше всего меня беспокоят, казалось бы, безобидные привычки, которые незаметно приводят к катастрофе. И бананы, как ни странно, являются одной из таких скрытых угроз. Нам с детства твердят, что бананы – это идеальный перекус. Они мягкие, легко усваиваются, богаты калием и даже считаются полезными для сердца. И для среднестатистического взрослого человека в возрасте 30-40 лет это может быть правдой. Но после 60 лет ситуация меняется, особенно в отношении того, как почки, кровеносные сосуды и сердце справляются с внезапными изменениями уровня минералов, таких как калий. Позвольте мне объяснить это более подробно. С возрастом наши почки естественным образом замедляют свою работу. Они не фильтруют так эффективно, особенно если у вас уже есть повышенное кровяное давление, диабет или если вы принимаете распространенные лекарства, такие как ингибиторы АПФ или диуретики, мочегонные таблетки. Это означает, что калий, которым богаты бананы, может начать накапливаться в вашей крови. Что происходит дальше? Ваше сердце начинает давать сбой. Ваши кровеносные сосуды сжимаются. И самое страшное, что в областях, где кровь должна течь свободно, образуются тромбы. В мозге такой тромб может отключить все за считанные секунды. Я никогда не забуду своего пациента, мистера Реймонда, 66 лет, отставного плотника из Агайц. Он был активным, сообразительным и гордился тем, что питается здоровой пищей. Каждое утро он нарезал банан в овсянку и запивал лекарство от кровяного давления апельсиновым соком. Это был распорядок, которому он следовал больше года. Но однажды утром его жена нашла его лежащим без сознания в ванной. Он не мог двигать левой стороной тела, его речь была невнятной. В больнице сканирование выявило небольшой, но разрушительный инсульт. Уровень калия в его крови был опасно высоким, что нарушало сердечный ритм и вызывало образование тромбов в течение ночи. Он понятия не имел, что 2 простых банана в день в сочетании с его лекарствами подвергают его организм опасности. Вот что большинству пожилых людей никогда не говорят. Вам не нужно так много калия. Ни из добавок, ни из нескольких порций фруктов, и особенно не все сразу. Всего один большой банан может содержать более 450 мг калия. Этого достаточно, чтобы нарушить баланс вашего организма, если ваши почки не работают на пике возможностей. Если вы едите банан на ночь, когда ваше кровообращение замедляется, уровень гидратации падает, а лекарство все еще активно, это создает идеальный шторм. Жесткие артерии, липкая кровь и тромб, который может не дать вам второго шанса. Итак, что вам следует делать, если вам больше 60 лет, особенно если вы принимаете лекарства для сердца или кровяного давления? Ограничьте себя половиной банана в день. Съедайте его утром и всегда с белком, таким как греческий йогурт или орехи, чтобы замедлить всасывание. Откажитесь от банановых смузи, бананового хлеба и, конечно, избегайте употребления бананов перед сном. И самое главное, поговорите со своим врачом о том, как продукты, богатые калием, взаимодействуют с вашими лекарствами. От этого может зависеть ваша жизнь. Потому что вот правда, то, что раньше было полезно для вашего тела, может быть небезопасным сейчас, если не понимать всей картины. И если бананы шокировали вас, подождите, пока вы услышите, что виноград, да, этот крошечный сладкий виноград, делает с вашим уровнем сахара в крови, вашими мозговыми сосудами и риском скрытого воспаления. То, что я собираюсь рассказать вам в следующем разделе, вероятно, навсегда изменит то, как вы перекусываете. Если вы все еще смотрите и находите эти идеи полезными, пожалуйста, прокомментируйте цифрой 1 ниже, чтобы я знал, что вы со мной. Теперь перейдем к пункту номер 2 – винограду. Виноград – это сахарная бомба в крошечной упаковке. Сладкий, сочный, освежающий, он кажется таким же невинным, как ветерок в весенний день. Виноград всегда присутствует на фруктовой тарелке, в вашей миске с хлопьями или подается после воскресного обеда с внуками. Но что, если я скажу вам, что для человека старше 60 лет, особенно для тех, у кого есть скрытые сосудистые проблемы или нестабильный уровень сахара в крови, виноград может быть тихим триггером инсульта? Легко забыть, что виноград – это концентрированный сахар, завернутый в нежную кожицу. Каждый маленький виноград может не выглядеть угрожающим, но употребление всего лишь горсти, особенно бессемянных, очень сладких сортов, столь распространенных в американских продуктовых магазинах, может доставить всплеск натуральной глюкозы и фруктозы прямо в ваш кровоток. А для стареющего мозга и кровеносных сосудов этот скачок обходится дорого. С возрастом наш организм становится менее эффективным в управлении уровнем сахара в крови. Наша инсулиновая реакция замедляется, наши кровеносные сосуды становятся более хрупкими. И когда уровень сахара быстро повышается, это не просто напрягает вашу поджелудочную железу, это вызывает воспаление внутри нежных стенок ваших артерий, включая те, которые питают ваш мозг. Когда эти артерии воспаляются, они начинают затвердевать и сужаться. Со временем внутренняя оболочка сосуда может микроскопически разрываться, и именно там начинают образовываться тромбы. Вы можете этого не чувствовать, вы можете не увидеть этого при обычном осмотре, но ваше тело тихо создает идеальные условия для тихого инсульта. Позвольте мне рассказать вам о миссис Джанет Моррис, 80 лет, отставной школьной учительнице из Миссури. Она гордилась тем, что живет естественно. Никакой газировки, никакой обработанной пищи, всегда ела свежие фрукты. Ее любимый перекус в середине утра – щедрая миска красного винограда. Она перекусывала им, читая газету или смотря новости, иногда съедая почти 2 чашки, не задумываясь. Затем однажды она заметила, что ее зрение расплывается, когда она писала поздравительную открытку. Мгновение спустя ее рука задрожала, и она не могла вспомнить слово «поздравление». Ее дочь отвезла ее в больницу, опасаясь инсульта. И это было именно то, что произошло: транзиторная ишемическая атака, часто называемая мини-инсультом, вызванная тромбом, который ненадолго заблокировал приток крови к левой стороне ее мозга. Ее анализы показали резкие скачки сахара около полудня, а ее A1C, долгосрочный маркер уровня сахара в крови, перешел в предиабетический диапазон, чего она никогда не подозревала. Но еще более показательным было хроническое слабовыраженное воспаление в ее сосудистой системе, вероятно, усугубленное годами высокого потребления фруктов с высоким содержанием сахара без белка или клетчатки для его сбалансирования. Вот что я хочу, чтобы вы поняли: даже здоровые продукты могут стать опасными без контекста. Когда вам больше 60 лет, время приема пищи и то, с чем вы ее едите, становится таким же важным, как и сама пища. Виноград быстро переваривается, он посылает сахар, стремительно несущийся по вашим венам. И если вы едите его в одиночку, особенно в состоянии обезвоживания или стресса, ваше тело входит в состояние, когда кровь сгущается, сосуды сужаются, и образование тромбов становится более вероятным. Вы не заметите этого в тот день, но ночь за ночью, неделя за неделей это накапливается, пока однажды не сломается. Вот почему я теперь говорю своим пожилым пациентам: никогда не ешьте виноград натощак, никогда не ешьте целую миску. Сочетайте его с белком, несколькими миндальными орехами, ломтиком сыра, и всегда ограничивайте порции небольшой горстью, предпочтительно в активные часы дня, когда ваше тело может сжечь сахар. И если вы диабетик или принимаете лекарства от кровяного давления, откажитесь от винограда вообще, если ваш врач не скажет иное. Потому что то, что кажется безобидным перекусом, со временем может тихо лишить вас равновесия, памяти и даже независимости. И говоря о сладком и опасном, есть тропический фрукт, который любят многие пожилые люди, и он делает больше, чем просто повышает уровень сахара. Его кислота, его ферменты и его ночное воздействие на мозг могут вас удивить. Давайте поговорим об ананасе и о том, почему ваш любимый десерт может навредить вашему мозгу во время сна. Ананас – это сочетание кислоты и сахара. В нем есть что-то такое, что заставляет его чувствоваться как солнечный свет в одном укусе. Сладкий, терпкий, тропический. Он является безгрешным лакомством после ужина, поскольку он легкий, натуральный и содержит ферменты, которые помогают пищеварению. Но чего большинство пожилых людей не осознают, и что меня глубоко беспокоит как невролога, это то, как этот фрукт, если его есть не в то время или не в том состоянии, может стать тихим фактором риска инсульта, особенно в ночное время. Ананас содержит бромелайн, натуральный фермент, который может расщеплять белки в вашем организме. В небольших количествах бромелайн может помочь пищеварению, но в избытке, особенно в сочетании с определенными лекарствами, он может помешать свертыванию крови, снизить функцию тромбоцитов и привести к непредсказуемому кровотечению или образованию тромбов. Для человека старше 60 лет с, естественно, более тонкими кровеносными сосудами и замедленным метаболизмом этот дисбаланс может иметь серьезные последствия. И давайте не будем забывать о сахаре. Одна чашка ананаса содержит более 16 граммов натурального сахара, что вызывает быстрое повышение уровня глюкозы в крови. В отличие от ягод или яблок, ананас имеет высокий гликемический индекс, что означает, что он быстро наводняет кровоток сахаром. И когда его употребляют поздно вечером, этот скачок не используется для получения энергии, он просто циркулирует, напрягая ваши кровеносные сосуды во время сна. Но самая недооцененная угроза из всех – кислота. Ананас – один из самых кислых фруктов в американской диете. Он может раздражать пищевод, вызывать тихий рефлюкс, а у некоторых пожилых людей этот рефлюкс возникает без типичной жгучей боли. Вместо этого он вызывает микроаспирацию и ночные изменения давления в дыхательных путях, которые были связаны со снижением поступления кислорода в мозг во время сна и повышенным риском инсультов ранним утром, самых смертоносных. Однажды я лечил пациентку по имени миссис Клара Хьюз, 77 лет, отставного руководителя хора из Северной Каролины. Она была активной, сообразительной и глубоко приверженной чистому питанию. Она избегала обработанных сладостей и заменяла свои обычные десерты несколькими ломтиками свежего ананаса после ужина. Больше года это стало ее ночным ритуалом. Затем однажды утром она проснулась, чувствуя себя затуманенной, дезориентированной. Ее дочь заметила, что она невнятно произносит слова и не может удержать равновесие при ходьбе. Компьютерная томография показала, что она перенесла небольшой инсульт в задней циркуляции, который повлиял на ее равновесие и речь. Ее анализ крови показал повышенный уровень глюкозы, признаки ночного раздражения от рефлюкса и нарушения тромбоцитов. Виновником был не один фактор, а идеальный шторм, созданный ее ночной привычкой есть ананас, кислотный рефлюкс, скачки сахара и влияние бромелайна на свертываемость крови. Это был фрукт, который, как она считала, помогал ей, но он почти украл ее независимость. Случай с Кларой далеко не единичный. У пожилых людей пищеварение замедляется, стенки сосудов истончаются, а сон становится более хрупким. Сочетайте это с кислыми фруктами с высоким содержанием сахара на ночь, и вы рискуете сужением кровеносных сосудов во время отдыха, именно в тот момент, когда мозг наиболее уязвим. И да, при определенных обстоятельствах он молча образует тромбы, создавая условия для инсульта, пока вы спите. Итак, что из этого следует? Если вы любите ананас, наслаждайтесь им раньше в течение дня в небольших количествах и никогда натощак. Избегайте сочетания его с лекарствами, разжижающими кровь, если ваш врач не посоветует иное. И самое главное, не ешьте его перед сном. Вашему мозгу нужна стабильность, а не сюрпризы, пока вы спите. Потому что на этом этапе жизни даже фрукт может нарушить равновесие. Но если ананас шокировал вас, подождите, пока вы услышите правду об арбузе. Арбуз, этот сочный символ лета, часто воспринимается как безобидное лакомство, особенно в жаркие месяцы. Однако для людей старше 60 лет, особенно тех, кто страдает диабетом или проблемами с почками, употребление арбуза в больших количествах может представлять неожиданную угрозу для здоровья. Арбуз состоит примерно на 92% из воды, что делает его отличным средством для утоления жажды и поддержания гидратации. Однако он также содержит значительное количество фруктозы, типа сахара, который может быстро повысить уровень глюкозы в крови. Кроме того, арбуз обладает высоким гликемическим индексом, ГИ, что означает, что он быстро расщепляется в организме, вызывая резкий скачок уровня сахара в крови. Для пожилых людей, чей организм может быть менее эффективным в регулировании уровня сахара в крови, употребление большого количества арбуза может привести к гипергликемии, состоянию, которое может повредить кровеносные сосуды и нервы. Со временем это может увеличить риск развития инсульта, сердечных заболеваний и других осложнений. Кроме того, арбуз содержит калий, минерал, который важен для поддержания здорового кровяного давления. Однако для людей с проблемами почек употребление слишком большого количества калия может быть опасным. Почки отвечают за фильтрацию калия из крови, и если они не функционируют должным образом, калий может накапливаться в организме, вызывая гиперкалиемию. Это состояние может привести к нарушениям сердечного ритма, мышечной слабости и даже смерти. Чтобы проиллюстрировать потенциальные риски употребления арбуза, позвольте мне поделиться историей одного из моих пациентов, мистера Джона Смита, 72-летнего пенсионера с диабетом 2 типа. Мистер Смит любил арбуз и часто ел большие порции в жаркие летние дни. Однажды он почувствовал себя плохо после употребления большого количества арбуза. У него была сильная головная боль, головокружение и тошнота. Его жена отвезла его в отделение неотложной помощи, где врачи обнаружили, что у него очень высокий уровень сахара в крови и гиперкалиемию. Мистеру Смиту потребовалось несколько дней госпитализации, чтобы стабилизировать его состояние. Случай мистера Смита является предостережением о том, что даже здоровые продукты, такие как арбуз, могут быть вредными, если употреблять их в больших количествах, особенно людям с определенными заболеваниями. Если вам больше 60 лет, важно умеренно употреблять арбуз и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, сколько арбуза безопасно для вас. В целом, арбуз может быть освежающим и увлажняющим фруктом, которым можно наслаждаться в умеренных количествах. Однако пожилым людям, особенно тем, кто страдает диабетом или проблемами с почками, следует проявлять осторожность при употреблении арбуза и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, сколько арбуза безопасно для них. Манго – этот тропический фрукт с сочной мякотью и сладким ароматом, является фаворитом многих людей во всем мире. Однако для людей старше 60 лет, особенно тех, кто страдает диабетом или резистентностью к инсулину, употребление манго в больших количествах может представлять неожиданную угрозу для здоровья. Манго богат витаминами, минералами и антиоксидантами, которые важны для поддержания хорошего здоровья. Однако он также содержит большое количество сахара, в основном в виде фруктозы. Один средний манго может содержать до 45 граммов сахара, что эквивалентно примерно 11 чайным ложкам сахара. Для пожилых людей, чей организм может быть менее эффективным в регулировании уровня сахара в крови, употребление большого количества манго может привести к гипергликемии, состоянию, которое может повредить кровеносные сосуды и нервы. Со временем это может увеличить риск развития инсульта, сердечных заболеваний и других осложнений. Кроме того, манго обладает высоким гликемическим индексом, ГИ, что означает, что он быстро расщепляется в организме, вызывая резкий скачок уровня сахара в крови. Это может быть особенно проблематично для людей с резистентностью к инсулину, состоянием, при котором организм не реагирует должным образом на инсулин, гормон, который помогает регулировать уровень сахара в крови. Чтобы проиллюстрировать потенциальные риски употребления манго, позвольте мне поделиться историей одного из моих пациентов, миссис Мэри Джонсон, 68-летней пенсионерки с диабетом 2 типа и резистентностью к инсулину. Миссис Джонсон любила манго и часто ела по 1 или 2 манго в день. Однажды она почувствовала себя плохо после употребления большого количества манго. У нее была сильная головная боль, головокружение и тошнота. Ее муж отвез ее в отделение неотложной помощи, где врачи обнаружили, что у нее очень высокий уровень сахара в крови. Миссис Джонсон потребовалось несколько дней госпитализации, чтобы стабилизировать ее состояние. Случай миссис Джонсон является предостережением о том, что даже здоровые продукты, такие как манго, могут быть вредными, если употреблять их в больших количествах, особенно людям с определенными заболеваниями. Если вам больше 60 лет, важно умеренно употреблять манго и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, сколько манго безопасно для вас. В целом, манго может быть питательным и вкусным фруктом, которым можно наслаждаться в умеренных количествах. Однако пожилым людям, особенно тем, кто страдает диабетом или резистентностью к инсулину, следует проявлять осторожность при употреблении манго и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, сколько манго безопасно для них. Вишня – эти маленькие, сочные фрукты часто ассоциируются с летними пикниками и десертами. Однако для людей старше 60 лет, особенно тех, кто принимает определенные лекарства, употребление вишни в больших количествах может представлять неожиданную угрозу для здоровья. Вишня богата витаминами, минералами и антиоксидантами, которые важны для поддержания хорошего здоровья. Однако она также содержит соединение под названием салицилат, которое может взаимодействовать с определенными лекарствами, такими как антикоагулянты, разжижители крови и аспирин. Салицилаты могут усиливать действие этих лекарств, увеличивая риск кровотечений. Для пожилых людей, чьи кровеносные сосуды могут быть более хрупкими, это может привести к серьезным осложнениям, таким как инсульт или кровоизлияние в мозг. Кроме того, вишня содержит сорбит, тип сахара, который может вызывать расстройство желудочно-кишечного тракта, такое как вздутие живота, газы и диарея. Для пожилых людей, чья пищеварительная система может быть менее эффективной, это может быть особенно неприятно. Чтобы проиллюстрировать потенциальные риски употребления вишни, позвольте мне поделиться историей одного из моих пациентов, мистера Роберта Дэвиса, 75-летнего пенсионера, который принимал варфарин, антикоагулянт, для предотвращения образования тромбов. Мистер Дэвис любил вишню и часто ел большие порции во время летнего сезона. Однажды он почувствовал себя плохо после употребления большого количества вишни. У него была сильная головная боль, головокружение и носовое кровотечение. Его жена отвезла его в отделение неотложной помощи, где врачи обнаружили, что у него очень высокий уровень НО, показатель свертываемости крови. Мистеру Дэвису потребовалось несколько дней госпитализации, чтобы стабилизировать его состояние. Случай мистера Дэвиса является предостережением о том, что даже здоровые продукты, такие как вишня, могут быть вредными, если употреблять их в больших количествах, особенно людям, принимающим определенные лекарства. Если вам больше 60 лет, важно умеренно употреблять вишню и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, безопасно ли для вас употреблять вишню, и если да, то в каком количестве. В целом, вишня может быть питательным и вкусным фруктом, которым можно наслаждаться в умеренных количествах. Однако пожилым людям, особенно тем, кто принимает антикоагулянты или аспирин, следует проявлять осторожность при употреблении вишни и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, сколько вишни безопасно для них. Груши, эти сочные и сладкие фрукты, часто рекомендуются как здоровый перекус. Однако для людей старше 60 лет, особенно тех, кто страдает синдромом раздраженного кишечника, СРК, или другими проблемами с пищеварением, употребление груш в больших количествах может представлять неожиданную угрозу для здоровья. Груши богаты витаминами, минералами и клетчаткой, которые важны для поддержания хорошего здоровья. Однако они также содержат фруктозу и сорбит, два типа сахара, которые могут быть трудно перевариваемыми для некоторых людей. Фруктоза является типом сахара, который не так легко усваивается организмом, как глюкоза. Когда фруктоза не усваивается должным образом, она может вызывать расстройство желудочно-кишечного тракта, такое как вздутие живота, газы и диарея. Сорбит является еще одним типом сахара, который может вызывать аналогичные проблемы с пищеварением. Для пожилых людей, чья пищеварительная система может быть менее эффективной, употребление груш в больших количествах может усугубить симптомы СРК или других проблем с пищеварением. Это может привести к дискомфорту, боли и даже обезвоживанию. Чтобы проиллюстрировать потенциальные риски употребления груш, позвольте мне поделиться историей одного из моих пациентов, миссис Элеоноры Уилсон, 70-летней пенсионерки с СРК. Миссис Уилсон любила груши и часто ела по одной или две груши в день в качестве перекуса. Однажды она почувствовала себя плохо после употребления большого количества груш. У нее была сильная боль в животе, вздутие живота и диарея. Она обратилась к своему врачу, который сказал ей, что ее симптомы, вероятно, вызваны употреблением слишком большого количества груш. Случай миссис Уилсон является предостережением о том, что даже здоровые продукты, такие как груши, могут быть вредными, если употреблять их в больших количествах, особенно людям с определенными заболеваниями. Если вам больше 60 лет, важно умеренно употреблять груши и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, безопасно ли для вас употреблять груши, и если да, то в каком количестве. В целом, груши могут быть питательным и вкусным фруктом, которым можно наслаждаться в умеренных количествах. Однако пожилым людям, особенно тем, кто страдает СРК или другими проблемами с пищеварением, следует проявлять осторожность при употреблении груш и проконсультироваться со своим врачом, чтобы определить, сколько груш безопасно для них. Персики, эти сочные и ароматные фрукты, часто ассоциируются с летними днями и сладкими десертами. Однако для людей старше 60 лет, особенно тех, кто страдает аллергией на фрукты или чувствительностью к определенным соединениям, употребление персиков в больших количествах может представлять неожиданную угрозу для здоровья. Персики богаты витаминами, минералами и антиоксидантами. Peaches are a popular fruit that is enjoyed by people of all ages. They are a good source of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, which are important for maintaining good health. However, they also contain certain compounds that can cause allergic reactions or sensitivities in some people. One such compound is salicylate, which is also found in cherries and other fruits. Salicylates can cause allergic reactions in some people, such as skin rashes, itching, and swelling. In severe cases, salicylate allergy can lead to anaphylaxis, a life-threatening reaction that requires immediate medical attention. Additionally, peaches contain prunicin, a compound that can be converted to cyanide in the body. While the amount of prunicin in peaches is typically small, consuming large quantities of peaches can lead to a buildup of cyanide in the body, which can cause symptoms such as headache, dizziness, and nausea. To illustrate the potential risks of consuming peaches, let me share the story of one of my patients, Mr. George Anderson, a 65-year-old retiree with a history of fruit allergies. Mr. Anderson loved peaches and would often eat 1 or 2 peaches a day as a snack. One day, he experienced feeling unwell after consuming a large number of peaches. He developed a skin rash, itching, and swelling of his face. He consulted his doctor, who told him that his symptoms were likely caused by an allergic reaction to the peaches. Mr. Anderson's case serves as a cautionary tale that even healthy foods like peaches can be harmful if consumed in large quantities, especially for individuals with certain underlying health conditions. If you're over the age of 60, it is important to consume peaches in moderation and consult with your doctor to determine whether it is safe for you to consume peaches, and if so, how much. Overall, peaches can be a nutritious and delicious fruit that can be enjoyed in moderation. However, older adults, especially those with fruit allergies or sensitivities to certain compounds, should exercise caution when consuming peaches and consult with their doctor to determine how much is safe for them. Prunes, these small and juicy fruits, are often recommended as a healthy snack, especially for people who are experiencing constipation. However, for people over the age of 60, especially those who are taking certain medications or have certain underlying health conditions, consuming prunes in large quantities can pose unexpected health threats. Prunes are rich in vitamins, minerals, and fiber, which are important for maintaining good health. However, they also contain sorbitol, a type of sugar that can have a laxative effect. Sorbitol is not easily absorbed by the body, and when it is not properly absorbed, it can cause gastrointestinal distress, such as bloating, gas, and diarrhea. For older adults, whose digestive systems may be less efficient, consuming prunes in large quantities can exacerbate these symptoms. Additionally, prunes contain tyramine, a compound that can interact with certain medications, such as monoamine oxidase inhibitors, MAOIs, which are used to treat depression. Tyramine can raise blood pressure, and when it is combined with MAOIs, it can lead to a dangerous increase in blood pressure, which can cause a stroke or other serious complications. To illustrate the potential risks of consuming prunes, let me share the story of one of my patients, Mrs. Patricia Thompson, a 78-year-old retiree who was taking MAOIs for depression. Mrs. Thompson loved prunes and would often eat several prunes a day as a snack. One day, she experienced feeling unwell after consuming a large number of prunes. She developed a severe headache, dizziness, and nausea. She consulted her doctor, who told her that her symptoms were likely caused by an interaction between the prunes and her medication. Mrs. Thompson's case serves as a cautionary tale that even healthy foods like prunes can be harmful if consumed in large quantities, especially for individuals who are taking certain medications. If you're over the age of 60, it is important to consume prunes in moderation and consult with your doctor to determine whether it is safe for you to consume prunes, and if so, how much. Overall, prunes can be a nutritious and delicious fruit that can be enjoyed in moderation. However, older adults, especially those who are taking MAOIs or have certain underlying health conditions, should exercise caution when consuming prunes and consult with their doctor to determine how much is safe for them. In conclusion, while fruits are an important part of a healthy diet, older adults should be aware of the potential risks associated with consuming certain fruits in large quantities. Moderation is key, and it is important to consult with your doctor to determine which fruits and how much are safe for you, given your individual health conditions and medications. Remember, what is healthy for one person may be harmful to another, especially as we age. Be mindful of your body, listen to your doctor's advice, and enjoy fruits in moderation to maintain your health and well-being for years to come. A fruit that is praised for its hydrating properties can, under certain circumstances, subtly dry out your brain and lower your blood pressure to critical levels, making you vulnerable to sudden collapse. Let's break down how something so watery can become so dangerous. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please drop a 1 in the comments so I know you're here. Now, let's move on to point number 4, watermelon. Watermelon isn't always hydrating. It's hard to find a fruit more beloved in American summers than watermelon. Chilled slices on the 4th of July, a seed-spitting contest with the grandkids, and that sweet, refreshing crunch after a hot day in the garden. It seems harmless, even beneficial. And yes, it's full of water. But for older adults, especially those with cardiovascular issues or who are on certain medications, watermelon can subtly put the body at risk, not because of sugar or acid, but because of what it pulls out of your system. As a doctor specializing in brain health, I'm increasingly concerned about how often older people unknowingly create their own stroke risks with foods they assume are safe. Watermelon is one of the biggest misconceptions. It may seem hydrating, but watermelon can actually act as a diuretic, meaning it makes you urinate more frequently. This isn't a big deal for a 25-year-old, but for a 75-year-old with delicate circulation, borderline blood pressure, or who is already taking water pills or ACE inhibitors, that frequent urination can lead to nighttime dehydration, one of the most dangerous and silent stroke triggers. Why? Because when your body becomes dehydrated, your blood thickens. Imagine syrup slowly flowing through narrow tubes. Thick blood moves sluggishly, giving it more time to form clots, especially in arteries that have already hardened with age. The brain, already sensitive to oxygen changes, becomes even more vulnerable when blood flow slows or is interrupted. And this is especially true during the night when the body's natural circulation dips and blood pressure drops. Let me tell you about Mr. Howard Larkin, an 82-year-old retired mail carrier from Indiana. He was doing everything he thought was right: daily walks, avoiding processed sugar, and only snacking on healthy foods. One habit he'd gotten into was eating 2 or 3 big slices of watermelon after dinner to cool down and stay hydrated. But he didn't realize he was also on a diuretic for mild heart failure. Between the medication and the watermelon's natural water-shedding effect, Howard's body was losing too much fluid overnight. One morning, Howard woke up severely dizzy. As he tried to stand, he collapsed. At the hospital, his blood pressure was dangerously low, and blood tests showed signs of concentrated hemoglobin, a marker that his blood had thickened from dehydration. Scans revealed a small ischemic stroke, likely caused by a clot that had formed in his narrowed arteries while he slept. Turns out, his watermelons were doing the opposite of what he thought, drying him out rather than hydrating him. To make matters worse, the stroke affected Howard's balance and coordination. Though he survived, he now walks with a cane and needs help with daily tasks. A man who was mowing his own lawn just a week before. I share this story not to scare you unnecessarily, but because most older people don't realize that even healthy foods can become dangerous when they interact with age, medications, and timing. Watermelon eaten late at night, especially after taking medications that already reduce fluid volume, creates a hidden risk: thick blood, low pressure, sluggish circulation, 3 conditions that allow clots to quietly form and strike during the night. So, if you love watermelon, enjoy it wisely. Eat it earlier in the day and always pair it with electrolytes, like a pinch of salt or coconut water. If you're on diuretics, talk to your doctor before making it a daily habit. And most importantly, listen to your body. Morning dizziness, nighttime dry mouth, or waking up confused are not normal. They are warning whispers, because even a fruit that is 90% water can become a silent thief of brain health. And the worst part, you won't feel it until it's too late. Now, if that surprised you, wait until we talk about a fruit that's practically marketed as the face of a healthy breakfast, the classic American orange. But inside that bright color lies a hidden chemical that can interfere with your heart and brain medications and can set the stage for something far more dangerous than most people imagine. Oranges, citrus interactions. Oranges have long been a symbol of health in American families. A glass of fresh squeezed juice at breakfast, a bowl of orange slices on the kitchen table, or the classic orange in a Christmas stocking. For decades, they've been seen as nature's vitamin C wonder. But for older adults, especially those on heart or blood pressure medications, oranges can quietly become a chemical cocktail that triggers dangerous chain reactions inside the body, including those that lead to clots and strokes. The problem isn't just the sugar. While one large orange or a glass of juice can cause a spike in blood glucose, it's also about a natural compound inside citrus fruits called furanocoumarin, and it's something most older people have never heard of. Furanocoumarin can interfere with how your body metabolizes certain medications, especially statins, calcium channel blockers, and blood thinners. This means that instead of your body safely and gradually processing your medication, it can either hold on to too much, increasing toxicity, or flush it out too quickly, rendering it useless. This interaction can be deadly, not immediately, but slowly, quietly, creating conditions where blood becomes unstable, arteries constrict unpredictably, or clots begin to form without warning. As a doctor dealing with brain issues, I've seen too many patients pay the price for mixing healthy fruits with powerful medications. One such patient was Mr. Elmer Bryant, 79, a retired bus driver from Georgia. A kind man with a gentle smile, Elmer was on atorvastatin for high cholesterol and amlodipine for blood pressure. He also prided himself on living naturally. Every morning, he started his day with a tall glass of fresh squeezed orange juice, his sunshine in a glass, as he called it. But Elmer didn't know that the furanocoumarin in that juice was interfering with his liver's ability to break down his medications. His blood pressure medication was building up in his bloodstream, amplifying its effects. At the same time, the statin was accumulating in his muscles and blood, increasing inflammation and affecting his blood vessels. One morning, after feeling slightly dizzy for a few days, Elmer stood up from his chair and collapsed. He was rushed to the ER with slurred speech and confusion. A CT scan revealed a mild ischemic stroke, and blood tests showed dangerously elevated levels of his medications, not because he was taking too much, but because the orange juice was blocking his liver from clearing them out. His blood had become unstable, it was circulating unpredictably, and yes, a clot had formed and lodged in a narrow artery in his brain. When I explained this to Elmer and his wife, they were stunned. All my life, I thought orange juice was good for me, he said. And at one time it was. But an aging body is not the same. What worked at 40 doesn't always work at 70 or 80, especially with prescription medications now in the picture. That's why grapefruits, Seville oranges, and even regular oranges, if consumed regularly, should be carefully considered by older adults on medications. The liver becomes slower, less efficient, and the risks of food-drug interactions increase dramatically with age. For people over 60, I now recommend eating oranges in moderation and never combining them with medications without talking to a doctor. If you love citrus, choose lower-risk options like clementines, or squeeze just a small portion of juice into water rather than drinking full glasses. And if you're on any prescription medications, ask your doctor if citrus could interfere. Because the truth is, it's not just what's in your medicine cabinet that matters. It's also what's in your fruit bowl. One simple, well-meaning habit, repeated daily, can be the hidden hand that pushes your brain toward disaster. If that concerns you, it should, but knowledge is power. By simply changing how and when you consume certain fruits, you can significantly reduce your risk. And if you think oranges are the only everyday fruit with a dark side, you'll want to stick around, because next is a fruit that's often given to you in hospitals, praised for gut health and energy, but it can quietly strip your nerves of their protective coating. Let's talk about apples and a sugar trap no one warns you about. Apples, the unexpected sugar trap. Apples are a symbol of American health, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. You've heard it your whole life. Crisp, juicy, and easy to digest, apples are often handed out in hospitals, included in senior lunch programs, and lovingly packed by grandkids who just want you to stay healthy. But for older adults, especially those over 60 managing blood pressure, diabetes, or cognitive changes, apples may not be as harmless as they seem. In fact, the wrong kind of apple, eaten the wrong way, can quietly increase your risk of stroke by dangerously disrupting blood sugar levels and vascular stability. You see, not all apples are created equal. While apples do contain fiber and some nutrients, many of the most popular American varieties like Fuji, Honeycrisp, and Gala have been bred for sweetness, not nutrition. These apples have a high glycemic load, meaning they flood your bloodstream with natural sugars faster than your aging system can handle. And if you eat them alone, especially without protein or healthy fats to slow digestion, you trigger a rapid spike in blood sugar followed by a crash. This sudden spike and crash doesn't just affect your energy, it affects your blood pressure, vascular inflammation, and blood viscosity. When blood sugar surges, your blood becomes more acidic and sticky. Insulin levels spike, and your blood vessels constrict over time. This pattern, repeated day after day, damages the delicate inner lining of your arteries, including those leading to your brain. Micro tears can develop, and when that happens, your body forms clots to repair the damage. In younger people, the system recovers quickly, but for older adults whose vessels are already narrower and stiffer, these clots can become stroke triggers waiting for the right moment. One of my patients, Mrs. Louisa Hammond, 81, from Pennsylvania, had been healthy most of her life. She walked daily, took her medications as prescribed, and followed what she thought was a sensible diet. Every day after lunch, she ate a large Honeycrisp apple as a snack. No chips, no cookies, just fruit. But she didn't realize that she also had insulin resistance, and those daily sugar surges were overwhelming her aging blood vessels. Over time, she began to notice that her vision would blur slightly in the evenings, and she sometimes felt pressure in her head when she stood up. One evening, while preparing dinner, Louisa lost her ability to speak clearly. Her daughter rushed her to the ER, where imaging confirmed a minor stroke. Her lab showed unstable glucose patterns and signs of endothelial inflammation. Though her medications were doing their job, the blood sugar spikes were quietly setting her up for vascular damage. And yes, a clot had formed, most likely during one of those sudden sugar peaks. Louisa recovered, but she now looks at apples differently, not as an enemy, but as something to be approached with awareness and balance. Here's what I tell all my older patients. If you love apples, choose wisely. Granny Smith apples are lower in sugar and higher in polyphenol, compounds that protect the brain. Always eat apples with a source of protein or fat, like almond butter or a slice of cheese, to reduce the glycemic impact. And never eat a sweet apple on an empty stomach, especially in the evening. Your brain needs steady fuel, not a roller coaster. Even something as seemingly harmless as an apple can surreptitiously create conditions that increase the likelihood of a stroke, especially when blood sugar surges, vessels constrict, and clots quietly, invisibly begin to form until one day they make themselves known. If that surprised you, keep reading, because next is a fruit that many older adults love for its heart benefits. It's rich in color, packed with antioxidants, and often called a superfood. But beneath that ruby red skin lies a compound that can thin your blood too much. And for those already on medications, that can mean the difference between safety and a brain hemorrhage. Let's talk about cherries and why overdoing it can put your body at risk. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please drop a 1 in the comments so I know you're with me. Now, let's move on to point number 7. Cherries, the hidden salicylate source. Cherries, small, beautiful, and full of color, have earned a reputation as one of the healthiest fruits in the American diet. Doctors recommend them for inflammation, arthritis, and even heart health. You'll find them in senior health magazines, at organic markets, and as ingredients in everything from yogurt to salads. Cherries, with their juicy taste and appealing appearance, are indeed a popular choice among those seeking a healthy lifestyle. They are often included in diets aimed at supporting the cardiovascular system and reducing inflammatory processes in the body. However, as with any product, especially for older people, it is important to consider the potential risks associated with excessive consumption of cherries. One of the key aspects to consider is the salicylate content in cherries. Salicylates are natural compounds that have anti-inflammatory properties and can have a thinning effect on the blood. In moderate amounts, salicylates can be beneficial to health. However, with excessive use, they can be dangerous, especially for people taking anticoagulants or having problems with blood clotting. For older people who are already taking blood-thinning medications, such as warfarin or aspirin, eating large amounts of cherries can enhance the effect of these drugs, which can lead to an increased risk of bleeding. In some cases, this can lead to serious complications, such as bleeding in the brain or gastrointestinal bleeding. In addition, it is worth noting that cherries contain sugar, and, as with any sweet fruit, excessive consumption of cherries can lead to an increase in blood sugar levels. This is especially important for people with diabetes or problems with regulating blood glucose levels. To illustrate the potential risks associated with excessive cherry consumption, let me share the story of one of my patients, Mr. Edward Johnson, a 76-year-old retiree who was taking warfarin to prevent blood clots after a stroke. Mr. Johnson loved cherries and often ate large portions of cherries during the summer season. One day, he felt unwell and consulted me for advice. After a thorough examination and analysis of his diet, I found that Mr. Johnson was consuming too many cherries, which led to an increase in the INR, International Normalized Ratio, an indicator of blood clotting. As a result, I recommended that Mr. Johnson limit his cherry consumption and carefully monitor his INR level. Mr. Johnson's case is a prime example of how even healthy foods, such as cherries, can be dangerous when consumed excessively, especially for people taking certain medications or having certain conditions. Therefore, if you're over 60 years old and are taking anticoagulants or have problems with blood clotting, it is important to exercise caution when consuming cherries and consult with your doctor to determine a safe amount of cherries for you. Overall, cherries can be a healthy and delicious fruit that can be enjoyed in moderation. However, older people, especially those who are taking anticoagulants or have problems with blood clotting, should exercise caution when consuming cherries and consult with their doctor to determine a safe amount of cherries for them. Now let's move on to the next fruit, which is often considered a healthy snack, but can be dangerous for people over 60, grapes. Grapes, with their sweet and juicy taste, are a popular choice among many people, especially as a light and refreshing snack. However, as with any product, it is important to consider the potential risks associated with excessive consumption of grapes, especially for people over 60 years of age. One of the key aspects to consider is the high sugar content in grapes. Grapes contain both glucose and fructose, two types of sugar that can quickly raise blood sugar levels. For older people who may have problems regulating blood glucose levels, eating large amounts of grapes can lead to hyperglycemia, a condition that can damage blood vessels and nerves. In addition, grapes contain resveratrol, an antioxidant that is believed to have beneficial health properties. However, resveratrol can also have a thinning effect on the blood, which can be dangerous for people taking anticoagulants or having problems with blood clotting. To illustrate the potential, allow me to share the story of one of my patients, Mrs. Emily Carter, a 72-year-old retiree taking aspirin to prevent heart attacks, to illustrate the potential risks associated with excessive grape consumption. Mrs. Carter loved grapes and often ate large portions as a snack. One day, she felt unwell and sought my advice. After a thorough examination and analysis of her diet, I discovered that Mrs. Carter was consuming too many grapes, leading to an increased risk of bleeding. As a result, I recommended that Mrs. Carter limit her grape consumption and carefully monitor her condition. Mrs. Carter's case is a prime example of how even healthy foods like grapes can pose a danger when consumed in excess, especially for people taking certain medications or with certain medical conditions. Therefore, if you're over 60 and taking anticoagulants or have blood clotting problems, it is important to exercise caution when consuming grapes and consult with your doctor to determine a safe amount for you. Overall, grapes can be a delicious and nutritious fruit to enjoy in moderation. However, older adults, especially those taking anticoagulants or with blood clotting problems, should exercise caution when consuming grapes and consult with their doctor to determine a safe amount for them. Now let's move on to the last fruit on our list, which is often considered healthy and nutritious: bananas. Bananas, with their convenience and nutritional value, are a popular choice among many people, especially as a quick and easy snack. However, as with any food, it is important to consider the potential risks associated with excessive banana consumption, especially for people over 60. One of the key aspects to consider is the high potassium content in bananas. Potassium is an important mineral that plays a vital role in maintaining healthy blood pressure and nerve and muscle function. However, for people with kidney problems, consuming large amounts of potassium can lead to hyperkalemia, a condition that can be life-threatening. Hyperkalemia occurs when a level of potassium in the blood becomes too high. This can lead to heart rhythm disturbances, muscle weakness, and even death. For older adults whose kidneys may not function properly, consuming large amounts of bananas can increase the risk of developing hyperkalemia. In addition, bananas contain sugar, and as with any sugary fruit, excessive banana consumption can lead to elevated blood sugar levels. This is especially important for people with diabetes or problems regulating blood glucose levels. To illustrate the potential risks associated with excessive banana consumption, let me share the story of one of my patients, Mr. Thomas Brown, a 68-year-old retiree who suffered from chronic kidney disease. Mr. Brown loved bananas and often ate several bananas a day as a snack. One day, he felt unwell and sought my advice. After a thorough examination and analysis of his diet, I discovered that Mr. Brown was consuming too many bananas, leading to hyperkalemia. As a result, I recommended that Mr. Brown limit his banana consumption and carefully monitor his blood potassium levels. Mr. Brown's case is a prime example of how even healthy foods like bananas can pose a danger when consumed in excess, especially for people with certain medical conditions. Therefore, if you're over 60 and have kidney problems, it is important to exercise caution when consuming bananas and consult with your doctor to determine a safe amount for you. Overall, bananas can be a nutritious and beneficial fruit to enjoy in moderation. However, older adults, especially those with kidney problems, should exercise caution when consuming bananas and consult with their doctor to determine a safe amount for them. In conclusion, it is important to remember that even healthy foods like fruits can pose a danger when consumed in excess, especially for people over 60. Moderation is key, and it is important to consult with your doctor to determine which fruits and in what quantities are safe for you, considering your individual health conditions and medications. Remember, what is beneficial for one person may be harmful to another, especially as we age. Be mindful of your body, listen to your doctor's advice, and enjoy fruits in moderation to maintain health and well-being for many years to come. But behind its sweet taste and glowing reputation lies a little-known risk, especially for older adults already on blood thinners or medications affecting clotting. The danger lies in a natural compound found in cherries called salicylates, a blood-thinning substance similar to aspirin. While this can be beneficial in moderation, for seniors whose blood is already thinned by medications like warfarin, Plavix, or even a daily low-dose aspirin, adding more salicylates from food can throw the body out of balance. The result, blood that's too thin to clot, fragile vessels that leak, and in the worst cases, hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding inside the brain. Most people never connect this to fruit. It sounds far-fetched, but I've seen it firsthand. Let me tell you about Mr. Daniel Rhodes, 84, a retired train engineer from Illinois. A few years ago, he had a mild heart attack and was prescribed a daily low-dose aspirin. He also took a statin and a blood pressure medication. Every evening, he finished his dinner with a small bowl of cherries. Nature's dessert, he called it. He'd read they were good for inflammation and wanted to stay active for his great-grandchildren. At first, there were no signs of danger, but after a few weeks, Daniel started experiencing headaches, dizziness, and occasional nausea. One morning, he woke up confused and vomiting. His wife rushed him to the emergency room. A CT scan revealed something terrifying: a brain bleed, a hemorrhagic stroke. Not from high blood pressure, not from trauma, but because his blood had become too thin to clot, and a tiny vessel in his brain had ruptured. Doctors ruled out medication errors. His dosage was correct, his vitals were stable. But after analyzing his diet, it became clear that the cumulative effect of salicylates from the cherries, on top of his prescribed blood thinners, had quietly created a perfect storm. Here's what makes this so dangerous. The effects are subtle, gradual. You feel fine until you don't. And once bleeding starts in the brain, it's hard to stop. Recovery is uncertain. Some lose speech, others lose mobility. Many never regain full independence. Here's what I wish more seniors understood. Even natural foods can interact with your prescriptions. Your body at 70 or 80 doesn't process things the way it did at 40. A fruit that might help a younger person recover from soreness can, for someone on blood thinners, push their system into crisis. So, if you love cherries, please eat them mindfully. A few now and then are probably safe, but avoid cherry concentrate, juice, or large daily portions if you're on medications that affect clotting. And always talk to your doctor before making anything a regular part of your diet, especially something as medicinal as this sweet little fruit. Because what seems small can become serious when it enters an aging body already working overtime to stay in balance. And when blood gets too thin, it doesn't just flow, it surges and leaves devastation in its wake. If you think that's the end of the surprises, think again. There's another fruit often praised for its antioxidants and served in fancy bowls at senior brunches that may carry one of the highest pesticide loads in the grocery store. And for older adults, those toxins don't just wash off, they accumulate, and they could do far more damage to your brain than you've been told. Let's take a hard look at strawberries and what's really hiding beneath that red sheen. If you're still watching and finding this valuable, please type the number 1 in the comments so I know you're here. Now let's continue with point number 8, strawberries. They look innocent, bright red, heart-shaped, sweet with just the right hint of tartness. Strawberries are a picture of health. You see them on hospital meal trays, blended into brain-boosting smoothies, and served at brunches in nursing homes across America. But for seniors, the truth about strawberries is far less sweet. In fact, this popular fruit may be quietly raising your risk of stroke, inflammation, and long-term brain toxicity in ways you've probably never been warned about. Let's start with what most people don't know. Strawberries are one of the most heavily sprayed fruits in American agriculture. Year after year, they top the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list, a ranking of produce with the highest levels of pesticide residue, even after washing. And for older adults, whose detoxification systems slow down with age, these chemicals don't leave the body so easily. They accumulate in tissues, including the brain, where they can disrupt neurological function and weaken blood vessels from the inside out. Pesticides aren't just surface-level irritants. Many of them, especially those used on conventionally grown strawberries, are neurotoxic, meaning they damage brain cells and increase oxidative stress in aging neurons. Over time, this weakens the structural integrity of small blood vessels, especially in the white matter of the brain, the very areas most vulnerable to many strokes, memory loss, and cognitive decline. And when damage occurs, your body responds with inflammation and clot formation, increasing the risk of ischemic events. But the risk doesn't stop with pesticides. Strawberries also contain purines, natural compounds that break down into uric acid in the body. For people with a history of gout, kidney disease, or vascular inflammation, which includes a large portion of seniors, elevated uric acid levels can trigger inflammatory responses that cause blood vessels to constrict, blood pressure to rise, and again, clot formation. One of my patients, Mrs. Elaine Carter, 80, from Michigan, had always loved strawberries. She picked them fresh every June, froze them for winter smoothies, and ate a handful after dinner because they were healthy. She had mild hypertension, took a diuretic, and occasionally struggled with joint pain. Over time, she began experiencing morning dizziness and joint swelling that wouldn't go away. One morning, she woke up with numbness in her right arm and slurred speech. A CT scan confirmed a minor ischemic stroke, and her lab showed elevated uric acid levels, signs of oxidative stress, and low-grade inflammation. A slow process, likely fueled by years of exposure to pesticide residue and purine overload. Her strawberry habit, meant to protect her health, had become a subtle daily dose of risk. And yes, it formed a clot that her body was no longer able to clear. Elaine survived, but now lives with slight memory gaps and nerve sensitivity in her arm. When she told me through tears, I thought I was doing everything right. It reminded me how important context is in the nutrition of an aging body, because even superfoods can become toxic in the wrong body at the wrong time and under the wrong conditions. So, what should you do if you eat strawberries? Make sure they're organic every time. Wash them thoroughly. Don't eat them daily, and never rely on them as your primary source of antioxidants. If you have gout, kidney problems, or take blood pressure medication, talk to your doctor before adding them to your regular diet. And be careful with frozen strawberries, especially in pre-made smoothies. They often come from large batches grown overseas with even less regulation. Because what you don't know can hurt you slowly, quietly, until one day, a clot steals your words, your balance, or your independence. And if strawberries surprised you, wait until you hear about a fruit that seems exotic, indulgent, and full of health claims. A fruit commonly found in heart health supplements, but that may be quietly disrupting your blood pressure and triggering morning strokes. Let's talk about mangoes and why this sweet tropical fruit may not belong on your plate. Mangoes, blood sugar spikes, and medication interference. For many older adults, mangoes seem like a tropical treat, a reward for doing something right. It's soft, flavorful, and naturally sweet. You'll find it diced in fruit salads, blended into smoothies at senior health cafes, or dried and packaged as a healthy snack in the grocery store. The bright orange flesh seems like nature's dessert, and for many, that's exactly how it's marketed. But for seniors, especially those managing heart conditions, blood pressure, or taking multiple medications, mangoes can be a quiet saboteur, one that raises the risk of stroke in ways few doctors mention. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Mangoes are one of the most sugar-rich fruits in the American diet. Just 1 cup of ripe mango contains nearly 45 grams of natural sugar, more than the average donut. And unlike complex carbohydrates, the sugar in mangoes is rapidly absorbed, leading to sudden spikes in blood sugar followed by surges and crashes in insulin. For seniors with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, or unstable blood pressure, this roller coaster effect can put tremendous strain on blood vessels, especially those that feed the brain. When blood sugar levels spike, the body responds with inflammation. Arteries constrict, circulation slows, and in the delicate vessels nourishing the brain, this inflammation can cause tiny cracks in the lining of the vessel walls. Once that happens, the body goes into repair mode and forms clots to seal those cracks. It's a natural defense mechanism, but when it happens in a narrowed or hardened vessel, it can become the starting point of stroke. But that's not all. Mangoes not only disrupt blood sugar levels, they also contain natural compounds that interfere with how the liver processes medications, especially drugs used for heart rhythm, cholesterol, and blood pressure. One of these compounds, monafrin, has been shown in some studies to slow down the cytochrome P450 enzyme system, the system your liver uses to break down many prescription drugs. When this system slows down, medications build up in the body, increasing the risk of overdose, side effects, or interactions. If you're taking medications like amlodipine, metoprolol, or even common statins, this can lead to your blood pressure dropping too low or your heart rate fluctuating without warning. Let me share the story of Mr. William Booker, 83, a retired firefighter from Nevada. He prided himself on staying active, walking daily, eating a balanced diet, and always trying heart-healthy options. A few months ago, he started eating dried mango slices every day after lunch, thinking it was a smart substitute for cookies. He also took medications for high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation. After a few weeks, William began noticing episodes of morning dizziness. One day, he lost consciousness while getting out of bed. His wife found him pale, confused, and with a slight droop on the left side of his face. At the hospital, a scan confirmed a minor ischemic stroke. Tests showed that his blood pressure had dropped too low overnight, and his medication levels were abnormally elevated, even though he was taking the correct dosage. His doctor and I reviewed everything, and the culprit became clear. Daily dried mango consumption had overloaded his liver, interfering with how his medications were processed. The sugar spikes exacerbated the problem, creating the perfect environment for clot formation. William survived, but the stroke affected his coordination and short-term memory. He now lives with daily reminders of how something natural nearly took everything from him. That's why I urge seniors to rethink tropical fruits like mangoes. The sweet taste masks its danger. It's not just about the sugar. It's about how it interacts with an aging body, a slowing metabolism, and the complex web of medications many seniors rely on. Even a few slices, especially dried, can be enough to throw the body out of balance. So what's a safe approach? If you truly love mangoes, eat them in very small portions, no more than a few pieces, and only during the day, never before bed. Always pair it with a protein or fat to blunt the sugar spike. And if you're taking any prescription medications, especially for heart, cholesterol, or blood pressure, talk to your doctor first. Mangoes may no longer be right for you, not at this stage of life. Because in our later years, our margin of error shrinks. What we once tolerated in our 30s or 40s can now trigger serious consequences, even from fruit. Now, after hearing about these 9 seemingly healthy fruits, you may be wondering what we can eat to support an aging brain, nourish the heart, and still bring joy to our meals. Don't worry, in the final section, I'll walk you through the real brain-safe foods that protect memory, improve balance, and don't interfere with your medications. You won't need pills, powders, or exotic ingredients, just whole, simple foods and a little wisdom to boot. Let's talk about foods that heal, not harm. After we've covered 9 fruits that may seem healthy, even harmless, but can quietly raise your risk of stroke, you may feel confused, perhaps even a little betrayed. You've been told your whole life that fruits are nature's medicine, a gift from the earth, something you can always trust. But the truth, especially for those of us over 60, is more complex and far more important to understand. Aging changes everything. As we age, our bodies undergo a series of changes that affect how we process food and medications. Our digestive systems become less efficient, our kidneys and livers work slower, and our blood vessels become more fragile. These changes make us more susceptible to drug-food interactions and to the negative effects of consuming certain foods in large quantities. In addition, as we age, we often start taking more medications to manage various health conditions. These medications can interact with each other and with certain foods, leading to unexpected and potentially dangerous side effects. Therefore, it is important for older adults to be aware of the potential risks associated with consuming certain fruits and to make informed decisions about their diets. This doesn't mean you need to give up fruits altogether. Fruits are still an important part of a healthy diet, but it's important to consume them in moderation and to choose fruits that are less likely to interact with your medications or exacerbate your health conditions. In the next section, I'll tell you about fruits that are generally safe and beneficial for older adults. I'll also give you some tips on how to safely consume fruits and avoid potential risks. The foods you ate in your 30s or 40s are no longer processed the same way. Your kidneys filter slower, your liver processes medications with less efficiency, your blood vessels become more fragile, less flexible, and your brain, the most delicate organ of all, becomes increasingly sensitive to fluctuations in blood pressure, blood sugar, and clotting factors. This means that every bite now matters more than ever before. Many seniors with the best intentions are unknowingly building routines that put their brains at risk, A banana with their medication, a bowl of grapes as a snack, pineapple after dinner, a tall glass of orange juice in the morning. These habits are so familiar, so commonplace, that they don't raise suspicion. But beneath the surface, they can trigger a cascade of changes, quiet, invisible, and slow, that amplify inflammation, harden arteries, thin or thicken blood too much, and in the worst cases, form clots that block oxygen flow to the brain. As a brain-focused physician, I've seen the consequences. Patients who woke up fine and ended their day in the ICU. People who lost the ability to speak, walk, recognize their loved ones, all because of a clot the size of a grain of rice in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's heartbreaking. And what makes it even worse is that many of these events could have been prevented, not with more medication, but with a better awareness of how food and age interact. But here's the good news. Not all fruits are dangerous. In fact, some fruits, when chosen wisely and eaten with caution, can be powerful allies in protecting your brain, your heart, and your independence. So what should you be reaching for? First, berries. Blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries are low in sugar, high in antioxidants, and rich in compounds called polyphenol that protect blood vessels and reduce inflammation. They don't cause blood sugar spikes, they don't interfere with medications, and they naturally support memory and circulation. Second, green apples like Granny Smith. Unlike their sweeter counterparts, these apples have a lower glycemic impact and contain brain-protective flavonoids. Eaten with a small piece of cheese or nut butter, they provide gentle energy without the crash. Third, avocados. Technically a fruit, though many forget it, it's rich in healthy fats that help regulate blood pressure and support nerve function. It contains potassium, yes, but in a form that your body absorbs slowly, without the sharp spikes of sweeter fruits. Fourth, lemons and limes. Used not as snacks, but as flavor enhancers, they support liver detoxification and digestion without delivering sugar or interfering with most medications. Squeezed into water, it can gently awaken your system and hydrate without harm. Fifth, pomegranates, but only in small amounts. The juice is very potent, so if you enjoy it, dilute it with water and limit it to a few ounces. Its antioxidant properties can be beneficial, but it should be approached with caution, especially if you're on blood pressure or heart medications. And most importantly, timing matters. Eat fruits in the first half of the day, never on an empty stomach, and always paired with a source of protein or healthy fat to slow absorption and minimize sugar spikes or blood pressure drops. As we age, our bodies change, and so do our dietary needs. What was once a harmless snack can become a silent threat to our well-being. Today, we're diving into a topic that's crucial for those of us who've celebrated a few more birthdays: fruits and their impact on our brains as we age. You might be surprised to learn that not all fruits are created equal, especially when it comes to our aging bodies. Some fruits, while delicious, can actually pose risks to our cognitive health. We'll explore which fruits to approach with caution and why. We'll also uncover the best times to enjoy these natural treats and how to pair them wisely to minimize any potential harm. It's all about making informed choices that honor our bodies and minds. First, let's talk about the fruits that might not be your brain's best friend as you get older. High on the list are fruits with a high glycemic index, like mangoes. These can cause rapid spikes in blood sugar, which isn't ideal for anyone, but especially concerning for older adults. Then there's the timing. Eating fruits right before bed can be problematic. Your body's slowing down, and a sudden rush of sugar or acid can disrupt the delicate balance, potentially leading to issues you might not notice until it's too late. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are plenty of fruits that are fantastic for your brain health. Berries, for example, are packed with antioxidants that can help protect your brain from age-related damage. Green apples are another great choice, offering a lower sugar option with plenty of fiber. And avocados, while technically a fruit, are a powerhouse of healthy fats that support brain function. Now, let's talk about when to enjoy these fruity delights. The best time to eat fruit is earlier in the day, when your metabolism is more active. And never eat fruit on an empty stomach. Always pair it with a source of protein or healthy fat to slow down the absorption of sugar. It's also crucial to be aware of how fruits might interact with any medications you're taking. Grapefruit, for instance, can interfere with certain drugs, so it's always a good idea to consult with your doctor. Remember, this isn't about fear. It's about respect for your age, your body, and the subtle signals it sends. You're not fragile, but you are different. This doesn't mean you have to stop enjoying the sweetness of life. It means you should enjoy it wisely, with the knowledge and dignity that come with a lifetime of experience. You've reached this chapter in life through perseverance, wisdom, and care. Don't let a simple habit, a fruit you never thought twice about, become a silent thief of your health. Every choice, even a snack, can move you closer to vitality or further into risk. So, read labels, ask your doctors, and think about what's on your plate and what it might do inside your body, not just today, but in weeks or months. Because the truth is, you're no longer just eating to live. You're eating to stay sharp, to stay on your feet, and to stay yourself. And with the right knowledge, the right fruits, and the right timing, you absolutely can stay wise, stay alert, and remember that your brain is listening to everything you feed it. Feed it the future you deserve. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live a full and authentic life. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share what you've learned and plan to apply in your life. Let's support each other on this journey of embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with the number 1. If not, feel free to comment with a 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living your life on your terms. In conclusion, let's reiterate the key points we've discussed and offer some additional tips to help you make informed choices about fruits and maintain brain health as you age. First, remember that aging changes everything. As we age, our bodies process food and medications differently than when we were younger. Therefore, it's important to consider these changes when choosing foods, especially fruits. Second, moderation is key. Even healthy fruits can be harmful if consumed in large quantities. Try to stick to moderate portions and avoid overeating fruits, especially before bed. Third, choose fruits wisely. Some fruits, such as berries, green apples, and avocados, are safer and more beneficial for older adults than others. Avoid fruits with high sugar content, such as mangoes, and fruits that may interact with your medications, such as grapefruits. Fourth, pay attention to timing. Eat fruits in the first half of the day, never on an empty stomach, and always in combination with a source of protein or healthy fat. This will help slow down the absorption of sugar and minimize spikes in blood glucose levels. Fifth, consult with your doctor. If you're taking any medications or have any medical conditions, talk to your doctor before making any significant changes to your diet. Your doctor can help you determine which fruits are safe and beneficial for you, given your individual health profile. Sixth, read labels and be mindful of ingredients. Many processed products, such as smoothies and juices, contain added sugar and other harmful ingredients. Try to consume whole, unprocessed fruits and avoid products that contain added sugar. Seventh, listen to your body. If you experience any unusual symptoms after eating certain fruits, such as headaches, dizziness, or stomach upset, discontinue consumption and consult with a doctor. Eighth, don't forget about other important aspects of a healthy lifestyle. Proper nutrition is just one component of brain health. It's also important to exercise regularly, get enough sleep, manage stress, and maintain an active social life. Ninth, be patient and consistent. Changing your eating habits takes time and effort. Don't be discouraged if you don't see results immediately. Just keep making healthy choices, and you will feel better over time. 10th, remember that you are not alone. Many older adults face challenges related to nutrition and brain health. Reach out to your friends, family, and healthcare providers for support and advice. By following these tips, you can make informed choices about fruits and maintain brain health as you age. Remember, taking care of your health is an investment in your future. Make the right choices today to enjoy an active and fulfilling life tomorrow. In conclusion, I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it helpful and informative. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. I will be happy to answer them. And remember, your health is in your hands. Make the right choices and live your life on your terms.